The king is much more involved in this than he's letting on, wants to let on, because clearly it's very damaging. The palace has been lying to journalists about some of these issues. We probably do need some sort of statement of explanation about what was known at the palace, when they knew it, and what they did about it.
Now, I have very real sympathy for Charles, human sympathy. But what I'm noting today is that the decision for sources close to William and Catherine to start briefing about the King's health is likely going to give him a potential off-ramp as this scandal deepens. To say what the UK is currently living through is unprecedented is an understatement. So, despite what the mainstream media might say, nobody knows what's going to happen next, because the British establishment and deep state is collapsing at the same time as our beloved royal family faces an existential threat that could result in the generational change required to save it. In fact, I'm going to get to shortly how the pro-William and Catherine briefing has begun in the past 24 hours, with concerns now being expressed out of the palace about how the Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor scandal is impacting the King's health. Expect much more of this in the days and weeks ahead as the path is cleared for a possible abdication. We're not there yet. Let me be clear, we are not there yet. But what last night's truly historic arrest of Andrew's close friend Peter Mandelson, the UK ambassador in the USA, a matter of months ago, for the same crime of misconduct in public office shows, is that both the King and our crooked and corrupted Prime Minister Slippery Starmer are on the brink, hanging onto their jobs by a thread.
Peter Mandelson has been arrested by police.
Police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation.
British police arresting the former UK ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
Breaking news to bring you now. Thames Valley Police say that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
We understand that Peter Mandelson has been led away from his London home.
Breaking news about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. The BBC understands that he has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
Now, for Charles, one of the massive problems is that the Commonwealth countries are now publicly demanding action on removing his younger brother from the line of succession, which piles pressure on the monarch to take action. I keep using the word historic, but that's because it really is. Yesterday's public letter to two-tier care from Australian PM Anthony Albanese demanding action has now been followed up by an official statement from New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon. That's more interesting because Luxon is a conservative politician, not a hard left woke-topian like the Aussie leader. Yet his spokesperson messaged New Zealand's mainstream media this yesterday. Hi all. On Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, here is a comment attributable to the spokesperson for the Prime Minister. If the UK government proposes to remove Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor from the order of succession, New Zealand would support it. The UK government has said any proposals would come after the police investigation concludes. Then we get to the most significant new briefing of the day, as Prince William and Catherine express their concern that Charles's health simply won't be able to cope with much more of this tumult. But intriguingly, the couple also admit their frustration at not being able to speak out themselves. Now, that was clearly behind William's admittance that he doesn't agree with Charles's keep calm and carry on approach being adopted by his father with this very coded language at the BAFTAs.
I haven't watched it. Again, last night. You need to be in a quiet state. You'll be in a calm state. I'm not at the moment. I'll save it for when I'm feeling ready.
So let me take you through this bombshell reporting from the Daily Mail, which writes, Prince William's diplomatic outburst about his own mental health at the BAFTAs was a sign of his deep frustration over Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's arrest, fears for his father's health, and his desire to say more. The Prince and Princess of Wales are clearly itching to further publicly distance themselves more from the future king's errant uncle, a royal source has said. The couple are also concerned about the impact Andrew's arrest is having on the king's health as he continues to fight cancer, another well-placed source claimed. He is exhausted and it's draining for him, they said. Their glamorous appearance signalled a determination to put the royal family's difficulties to one side, but it appeared that issues around Andrew Mountbatten Windsor were not far from William's mind. William is frustrated because it's still likely to be a problem on his plate when he eventually becomes king, a royal insider has told the Daily Mail today. I'm sure the Prince and Princess of Wales have been itching to say something publicly to distance themselves, but they have to be cautious because of the police investigation. I think William and Kate are acutely aware that this is a scandal that won't be going away for a long time. It's a mess left by Andrew and the late Queen, and although His Majesty is very much in charge, William is frustrated. The princess looked so elegant, but you can see that this is all causing strain, and that's the last thing she needs, the Mail source said. And while the princess remains silent on the ongoing issues involving Andrew, royal sources have said the couple's main concerns surround the health of the king, who is still battling cancer. So this is where things, I think, get pretty significant, okay? Listen to this source quote. Obviously, William is not feeling calm, and he would have spoken on behalf of them both. It's a terrible situation, and they are very concerned about the health of the king and the impact this will be having on him. He is exhausted, and it's draining for him. Also, as parents of young children, to be reading all of this is pretty awful, and they are clearly concerned. William let this slip out last during a conversation, and he would have done that on purpose. That is very clear. But Catherine has kept very quiet. Now, this is really significant. In the royal family, things are done subtly. But for sources close to William and Catherine to start saying that the king is just exhausted and that this is draining him clearly suggests that they believe he is incapable of seeing the monarchy through this crisis. And it is impossible to deny that the king's health is a great concern, as I have reported in a sensitive manner. His cancer is incurable and terminal and clearly being worsened by stress. Indeed, outspoken contributor Lady Colin Campbell, revealed last week that senior royals are expressing growing concerns about how the current predicament is causing a serious deterioration.
Tonight on The Crown Report, the British establishment is facing one of its most turbulent political moments in recent memory. Westminster has been gripped by intense debate following escalating controversy surrounding senior public figures, including renewed scrutiny connected to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Parliament today openly discussed the implications, a development that would have seemed unimaginable only weeks ago. The political fallout is widening. Questions are being raised about leadership, oversight and accountability at the highest levels of government and the monarchy. While investigations and discussions are ongoing, the pressure is clearly mounting. There are also reports that the continued strain of public controversy may be weighing heavily on the institution itself. Sources close to senior royals suggest the atmosphere inside the palace is tense, although no official statements have confirmed internal concerns. Buckingham Palace has continued with scheduled engagements in an effort to project stability, even as speculation grows about what happens next. In his digest, Dan argues that politically, this crisis could have lasting consequences, and that the coming days may prove decisive for several key figures. Joining us for analysis are YouTube commentator Stef the Alter Nerd and conservative social commentator based on Bougie, as we examine the political, royal and institutional stakes. For ongoing coverage and clear analysis of the British royal family and UK politics, subscribe to The Crown Report. Like this video to support independent commentary and share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below.
I'm going to tell you something that a member of the royal family, a senior member of the royal family, said day before yesterday. First of all, the king is in a much worse health and much worse shape than he appears to be. All of this has had a devastating effect upon his health. The rest of the family are distressed beyond measure by the turn things have taken. They had no inkling whatsoever of what was going to come as a result of the drop of the Epstein files. None.
Now, I have very real sympathy for Charles, human sympathy. But what I'm noting today is that the decision for sources close to William and Catherine to start briefing about the King's health is likely going to give him a potential off-ramp as this scandal deepens. Entitled author Andrew Lowney has told Lauren the Insider that there is worse to come for Charles.
That King Charles had overseen the payment to Virginia Giuffre and also contributed to the finances of this. You don't pay £12 million to someone in a settlement when you are totally innocent, I would argue. What do you make of that?
I certainly think the King is much more involved in this than he's letting on, and wants to let on, because clearly it's very damaging. The Sun story, I believe, is true. It supports what my sources have been saying. And I know people feel the Palace has been lying to journalists about some of these issues. So I think we just have to see how it pans out over the next few days. But certainly my source is very credible on this issue. I think we probably do need some sort of statement of explanation about what was known at the Palace, when they knew it, and what they did about it.
Do you think the King has gone far enough releasing a statement, or do you think we should hear him in person address what is going on? Because we have been taken for fools as well, haven't we?
Well, I think, their style isn't to with rare exceptions, to broadcast to the nation, though we did have it during COVID. We had it clearly after Diana's death. I think there have been several other occasions. They're using more of that. I think we might perhaps get a statement through social media. We might get a story leaked to the press, that they can't control that so well. But I think, yes, I think people are expecting some sort of explanation of exactly what was known. But the problem is, if you say nothing, then you can't be held up. If you say something that's found not to be true, like Andrew did in the Newsnight interview, then you're in big trouble. So again, the old policy of never talking might be their safest one.
Additionally, Lowney also told Piers Morgan that the Palace's worst nightmare might soon come true in regards to Andrew leaking military secrets, a dire development that would pile further pressure on the monarch about what he knew.
I've got quite a lot of material from intelligence officials with reports on Andrew corruption dated, in fact, January this year, talking about his involvement and how he'd been compromised by Russian intelligence. And we've always had these Chinese spies around him, the alleged spy Tenbo Yang. So I think this is the way the thing is going. I'm getting more and more information about military secrets and other secrets which seem to have been divulged, as well as the commercial ones.
Now, speaking of dire and unpredictable situations for the monarchy, the UK's Liberal Democrats, the awful people, today opened an opposition debate in the House of Commons all about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. That is a break from convention, allowing British MPs to attack a member of the royal family. Indeed, it would have been unheard of even just a few weeks ago. This debate doesn't have that much credibility, though, because it was led by the clown prince of British politics, that attention seeker in chief, Ed Davey.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor shamed our country and the royal family. But for too long, members of Parliament were barred from even raising criticisms of him, let alone properly scrutinising his role as trade envoy. Because of the outdated tradition that mentions of any member of the royal family in this House must, in the words of the previous speaker, be, and I quote, very rare, very sparing, and very respectful. I was struck by the words of Amanda Roberts, Virginia Giuffre's sister-in-law, after Andrew was arrested last week. She said this could be a stain on the royal family for the rest of our history, or, quote, it could be a moment where they and we decide that this is the time when cultural change happens. And as a staunch supporter of His Royal Highness the King and the royal family, I believe we must help to bring about that cultural change now.
But I have to be honest, there was also a lot of love on display for our royal family, as Jim Shannon from the Democratic Unionist Party asked this.
And we're all greatly shocked at what has taken place, but does he agree as well? King Charles, Queen Camilla, Edward, Sophie, William, Kate are members of the royal family at this time who also need our support.